Odin gaming mouse pads. Zero gravity, mythical creatures of excellence. But that is not what we are here to talk about today. We were checking out all these mouse pads for a review, and we're also going to be giving a bunch of them away for you guys on our Twitch channel, which will be down in the description below. What I'm really here to talk to you guys about is single versus dual PC streaming and what's going to be right for you and where you're at in your streaming career, because there's a lot of misconceptions as to the pros and cons of single PC streaming versus dual PC streaming. And believe it or not, there's also a budget factor in effect because streaming equipment can be quite pricey. But we're not going to be doing that in this particular review room. We're going to have to take this over to the stream room setup. Welcome everyone to my stream room. This is also where we do all of our product testing, at least the majority of our product testing, and where we run all of our streams. First off, if you're a console gamer, you will never need a dual PC stream. If you're on console, you only need one PC to run your stream, and the specs aren't going to be that intensive. My first streaming PC when I was running on console was actually pretty mild. So it was like an i5 with a really old NVIDIA, like a 960 graphics card. But what I would recommend nowadays would be like the equivalent of an i5 or a Ryzen 5 3600, and I would probably rock bare minimum a GTX 1070 or an RTX 2070. Now, for all of you PC gamers out there who are looking to stream, yes, you can single PC stream, but there is a major compromise that a lot of people really don't touch on, and I haven't seen a lot of videos about it, so I wanted to address this. Is when you're running a single PC streaming a game, you are actually drawing from your performance in that game that you're playing. Although you may have a couple different monitors and you can control your stream and you can actually catch some decent FPS while playing that game, you will be limited. So on my old PC, when I first got the CyberPower that we reviewed, it had an RTX 2070 and an i9-9900K, and we could run a single PC stream, but I had to cap my frames at around 130 FPS to successfully achieve a fluid stream. Of course, I didn't want to stream at 30 FPS. I wanted to stream at 1080, 60 FPS, so it would look really good whether or not I'm on YouTube or Twitch. It would be a quality stream, but I sacrificed that in-game performance, and it doesn't feel as crisp or as responsive as playing the game and not having your graphics card running a whole separate operation. And that is the challenge. That is that major compromise, is that when you're single PC streaming, your graphics card is really multitasking, and it takes away from how quick and responsive and just the sheer raw performance that you can get of just that graphics card focusing on running that one game. So my recommendation, if you have to single PC stream, would be to not go with the bare bones, the bare minimum specs, because that is where those challenges come forward. So you want really high tier equipment. You want to overkill PC build. And I would personally want to have like bare minimum for a graphics card like an RTX 2080, 2080 Super, or an RTX 2080 Ti. And for a processor, you can actually get away with a cheaper processor. So like the equivalent of an i5 9600 or an i5 9400, or you could even go with like a Ryzen 5 3600, and you can get away with it and it would perform very well as long as that graphics card is overkill and you're running everything off of solid state drives and really high performance RAM. Again, I really want to emphasize, if you're running on a lower tier graphics card, you are going to have to cap those frames or else it will crash and you will literally have your stream successfully running, but where you were getting 144 FPS, when that graphics card is overloaded, it will default down to 60 or 30 FPS and it will cap you because it can't perform those two functions fluidly at the same time. Now, don't get it twisted. A lot of professional streamers to this day actually are running on a single PC stream. Not the majority of them, but a lot of them do, and it's a budget factor. PC components are really expensive. Graphics cards, processors, RAM, all of this stuff is really expensive, and that's why I consider it to be the next stage or the next tier of streaming and having a really, really powerful setup to do the creative things that you want to do on your stream. That's where the dual PC streams come into effect. But there's a lot of high tier streamers out there. that are doing single PC streams to this day. So since in my personal case with my initial build running that RTX 2070, whenever I streamed, I couldn't get the full performance of my monitor, which I run on 240 Hertz. I was only catching 130 and I wanted to be able to experience the game at the highest level possible and stream and share my content. So I needed to step into a dual PC stream build. So to break down how this all works, my main, strongest PC that I'm counting on to run my game fluidly is running this monitor and this monitor. This main screen, just this one screen, this 1080p display running at 240 Hertz is cloned and then shot out via HDMI. This HDMI goes into an Elgato game capture and then shoots straight over into that stream PC, and it captures all of the visual and audio for just this monitor. And then my second PC is running the entire stream. So my OBS, my Twitch page, my notifications, all of that is on this big 4K display off to the side. So I have a separate keyboard and mouse just for that PC so I can control my stream. We also have a Stream Deck which helps control as well. But essentially that stream PC is capturing all of that footage from that main display, and I can do whatever I want with it, create any scenes that I want, and then stream it out to my streaming platform. I can also monitor my stream and my Twitch page, and then see all the notifications for people who possibly are following the channel or donating. So essentially what's happening is I'm duplicating my main display, which is putting minimal strain on my graphics card and allowing me to run it to its max and not compromise any of the performance I would get from it. And then letting all of that really hard work of creating the stream and blending everything together, whether or not it's your audio or graphic effects or transitions and all of the cool things that make your stream unique and make it yours, that are really intensive on your CPU and your GPU. That all happens on a completely separate PC. So that's the beauty of dual PC streaming. We are gonna go over my two specific builds, but before we do that, I wanna cover some of the equipment that I use. So whenever we use a Facecam, we do use the Elgato Cam Link. The only reason the camera is not set up behind me is because we're actually running a dual cam setup right now. So the Facecam that would normally be my Facecam is actually one of these dope 4K cameras. So that cam right there is normally my Facecam, and we have that set up with the Elgato Cam Link. Absolutely amazing piece of equipment. I already reviewed this for you guys on the channel. This is my go-to for my Facecam. Another piece of equipment that I know I haven't reviewed for you guys yet is the Stream Deck. This thing makes streaming so freaking easy. If you're serious about being a streamer, get a Stream Deck. And of course, we have to have a game capture for this duplicated display. So I cannot just shoot out my duplicated display with like an HDMI or a DisplayPort and then plug it straight into my stream PC and expect it to accept that and recognize it. That's not the way it works, sadly. You have to have a game capture that receives all of that data and then sends it out in a form that your stream PC is gonna be able to receive it. So I do use the Elgato HD60S. I've had this thing forever. It's never failed me. It works perfectly. I get clean 1080p, 60 FPS, and it's very high quality. My monitor of choice, of course, the BenQ XL2546. This thing is the #1 used tournament monitor worldwide for good reason, so I absolutely love this thing. It's a beast. The mouse that I'm currently on and have been stuck on for quite some time is the G Pro Wireless. I've been using the same headset for a ridiculously long time, so we run the Astro A40s with the Mixamp. It's really good performance. I do plan on upgrading in the future, but it gets a job done for now. And the mic that I recently just upgraded to is actually the Samsung G-Track Pro. This is a really good mic, especially for just audio commentating. It's really good. I like it. So to wrap things up really quick, I'm gonna run you through my two PC builds and just cover why certain things are important and also some things that I really could have gone a little bit lower on quality on. So my main rig, my gaming rig, has an i9-9900K. I don't necessarily need an i9-9900K. I could get away with like an i5 or a Ryzen 5, but we got one. It's what came with my pre-built from CyberPower, and I just built up from there. For the graphics card, we do have an Asus RTX 2080 Ti. It's an absolute monster. It's also very expensive. It's like a $1,200 graphics card, but that's how you get that 240 FPS FPS without breaking a sweat. So yeah, we got the big boy graphics card in the gaming rig. For the RAM, we're running HyperX 4266. It's just beastly RAM. It does the job, no problem. Solid state drive is actually by Kingston. It's 1 terabyte. And then we also have an M.2 drive. It's like the NVMe 1 terabyte. It's pretty damn fast, all right? So we also have that in there for just rapid storage in case we need it. For the power supply, we are running a Corsair HX1000i. It's just a monster power supply. Why is that important? Because really poo-poo power supplies can and will kill your PC and make it a pile of ash. Honestly, I got that power supply because it's overkill, and I needed overkill because our CPU is overclocked, our RAM is overclocked, and everything's pulling a lot of power, and I wanted it to be just stable, rock solid, and that's why power supplies are important. Now for the stream PC. So for the processor, we're actually running an i5-9400F, I do believe. It's actually a lower tier CPU, and it gets the job done because we can overclock that thing to I think it's at 4.6 gigahertz. No problem, not breaking a sweat. And then for the GPU, it is an RTX 2070 by Zotac, but it doesn't look like any Zotac GPU that you've seen because we modified it. We actually water cooled this GPU with the NZXT G12 bracket kit. We made a video on that. Now it runs ice cold and it's very quiet. I love it. It performs really well and it runs the stream like an afterthought. I don't necessarily think that you would have to have an RTX 2070 to run your stream. You could have a 2060, you could even have like a GTX 1070 and it would run your stream no problem. I do recommend trying to go a little bit on the higher tier for your graphics card because eventually, as you progress, you're gonna get so much more content that you're actually pushing into your stream. So little notifications and add-ons, and it's literally a million different scenes that you're putting together in face cams and overlays and audio effects. And once all those things like start to compile and you have to create all of that in one video form, your graphics card can get overloaded. So having something that's gonna handle that, no problem, is important. So for the RAM, it is some Gale Evo Potenza, it's 2666. And then for the power supply, we have not changed it yet. Look at me, just eating my own words. We actually have an Apevia, I think it's a 850 or an 800 watt, 80 plus gold. Supposedly these things are made of poo-poo. So I need to replace that power supply. I'm probably gonna get another Corsair or an EVGA. Either way, the motherboards, I know I didn't cover the motherboards for both of them. The main gaming rig has an Asus Prime A Z390. That's actually one of the lower tier motherboards, but the starter level for overclocking and good VRMs. And then on this streaming PC, we have an ASRock base level Pro 4. Yeah, the Gamer Pro 4. That's not a good Z390 motherboard, to be honest, but it's stable and it's overclockable, and it runs my streams no problem. So that was a small compromise that I made in that build. So those are my two builds, and this is my streaming setup. And I hope that I gave you guys some insight as to why professional streamers are running dual PC streaming setups and why that's so important for them as professionals, as stepping into the next tier for them in streaming and having better equipment and being able to do more in their streams. And also what you can do with a single stream PC setup, and that it can and will work, and what you can expect to need in a single PC setup. So in conclusion, can you single PC stream? Hell yes you can. People are doing it all the time. There's people doing it right now. Expect to have a really baller freaking graphics card so that you can actually play the game on the level that you want to be able to play it and run your stream at the same time. Is dual PC streaming the way? Hell yes, it's the way. That's why all of the professionals, the really high tier streamers are doing that, because it's literally what enables them to make such high quality streams with so much integrated content in the stream built into it running live. That is why people run those dual stream PC setups. So we are gonna have another video as to how to set up a dual PC streaming setup and what software and whatnot's gonna be important to you. That'll be in another vid. And thanks so much for all coming through and checking out my setup. If this video has helped you at all, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the content. It is greatly appreciated. Notification Squad, you guys freaking rock. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Peace.